above privilege.
Heated discussion over a mask mandate in Fargo, why it's not over.
The CDC is rolling back guidelines on how the coronavirus is transmitted.
Plus, parents concerned about not being able to pull their kids out of the classroom. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
If they're wearing a mask, I don't know how they're responding. And this is destroying the individual.
Masks work scientifically and is vital to slowing the spread and flattening the curve in our county.
Both sides came out in full force tonight as Fargo considered a mask mandate.
While leaders didn't make a final decision, they did, by the slimmest of margins, agree to draft a mask proposal that will be considered at a later date. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly was there for the debate and has our story.
People are coming to North Dakota to get their hair done. They're coming to North Dakota to get their oil changed. They're coming to North Dakota to buy their groceries. They're coming to North Dakota to do an awful lot of things, and Minnesota is losing an awful lot of money because they have a mask mandate.
I have to be honest that I am a bit hesitant with a mandate, but if it ends up saving a single life, I am all for it.
In asking the city attorney to draft an ordinance, Commissioner John Strand asked that it be modeled after ones in New York and Arkansas, but without any penalties for violators.
Let's bring everybody's viewpoints into us, but let's do some action on the local level that will show a result that will save some lives or help some people or get us through this pandemic sooner than not.
Just as divided as the crowd was, commissioners decided on a narrow 3-2 vote to move forward. Mayor Tim Mahoney voting yes, but citing issues with the enforcement and the emotional response people have to a mandate.
I do not feel safe in environments where people do not wear masks. Even being here is a huge risk.
An 8-year-old in Grand Forks completed suicide due to the effects of COVID-19.
With the vote, there's still plenty of time for the public to weigh in. But once written, it will be back before commissioners, with residents getting another chance to share their feelings.
The COVID-19 pandemic is not going away anytime soon. In North Dakota, it's getting worse.
In Fargo, Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
City commissioners were divided on the issue of even drafting a mask mandate. 3 votes for yes, 2 for no.
Fargo School District will be pulling middle and high schoolers out of the classroom and switching to distance learning, but not for 2 weeks. The first day of distance learning begins October 5th. It will last through at least October 19th. School leaders meet every 2 weeks to determine the next 2-week time period, so the next meeting will be on October 15th. School leaders tell us the decision to change course was based on the 14-day rolling average of COVID cases in Cass County. For many students and families, the inconsistency and uncertainty have them concerned.
It's a little bit stressful just because it's kind of a different thing every week. You never really know what's going to happen.
Elementary schools will continue learning under a hybrid model despite the change for the older students. Now, at the same time, some parents are concerned that they're not being given the option of choosing distance learning. A local mom, Shelley Brackens, called our whistleblower hotline after this incident. Her 2 sons attend Lincoln Elementary in Fargo. The school told her that one of her 2 sons needed to quarantine for 14 days after coming in close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. However, her other son is still expected to go to school.
I don't feel that what is happening is fair to the kids for their education, to us parents, to the city.
Frustrated, she tried signing her boys up for the virtual academy, but was denied. Fargo Public Schools says if a student tests positive for COVID-19, a sibling would have to quarantine since they are a close contact. In this situation, the school says close contacts do not have to quarantine. For more on the district's guidelines, download our VNL News app.
A fundraising event was cut short this weekend after a volunteer tested positive for COVID. Life Packages for the Homeless held its event outdoors on Saturday, but was notified later that evening that a volunteer who was asymptomatic has COVID. They canceled Sunday's event and say the pandemic has made it hard to raise funds at a time when families are most in need.
We had to cancel the event. There was, we're not going to go out and risk anyone else just because, we're not trying to, hurt the community. We're trying to help.
It is a virus of indoors and it is a virus of large gatherings. So the biggest thing you can do to reduce your risk is just move your gathering outdoors. That's the best thing you can do.
Experts at Sanford say wearing a mask and staying 6 feet apart are the keys for preventing the spread. The old police headquarters in downtown Fargo will soon be a quarantine shelter for the homeless. The target opening date is November 1st. There is limited capacity at the current shelter to isolate. The city already owns the building. The Red River Valley COVID-19 Task Force is kicking in $200,000 in federal funding to make this happen.
Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for this Monday. North Dakota is reporting 287 new cases in the state, along with 1 new death. Overall, 193 people have died in the state. The positivity rate is now up to 8.84%. In Minnesota, the state is reporting 937 new cases, along with 4 new deaths. Nearly 2,000 people have died. Also tonight, North Dakota has lifted the 14-day quarantine order for people returning from international travel. The state's health officer says lifting the order is in keeping with the recommendation from the Centers for Disease Control.
Information on how and when to cast your vote is headed your way. North Dakota is launching a voter information campaign. If voters don't want to go to the polls on Election Day due to COVID-19 or other concerns, it's important to know your options, including early voting or voting by mail. For more information, you can check out the Secretary of State's election website. Meanwhile, another federal judge is ordering the post office to prioritize all election mail in November. A U.S. district judge ruled today that the Postal Service will be required to treat all election mail as first class or priority mail express. He also said the post office must pre-approve all overtime requests for the 2 weeks surrounding Election Day to make sure absentee ballots are processed properly.
North Dakota's Ag Commissioner Doug Goring says that he hopes the next big company in bioscience innovation comes from within the state, and he'll use CARES Act money to help them get there. Goring says there are about 20 companies doing bioscience research here. That includes antibody therapies and technologies related to sanitation and virus screening.
Bobcat, Melrose, Steiger, those were all little companies here in North Dakota and went on to be something great. If this is an opportunity to give a little company a shot in the arm, who's to say they wouldn't be a big fish in a very big pond later on?
The companies will have to match 25% in funding to get the grant money.
Still ahead tonight, Washington remembers Ruth Bader Ginsburg and considers what comes next.
But first, Hutch Johnson breaks down the week's forecast with a beautiful start to fall.